going to have a conversation with you, one that we have always had and we should always have. We need to have it because we have seen so many things that have happened in the African world. And we know that African people are under attack and have been under attack for over 400 years in one sector or the other, by one region of the world or the other. We have always had these experiences and we've always seen these things. So it's extremely important that we understand that we need to confront and deal with all issues as they come. Today, I'm discussing Kevin Hart and the blackness of the ancient Egyptians. And let me just tell you that this is sort of a fun talk, but a deep and serious talk. The reason is because somebody called me up and said, and Michael Cord said to me, Dr. Asante, is Kevin Hart really, is he serious on this? And I said, well, you know, he's a comedian, but on this one, we don't have to say that he's wrong, because in fact, Kevin Hart is correct on this question. He made some statements about the ancient Egyptians being black and the Arab people in Cairo, who are now the dominant government of Egypt, said that he should be banned from coming to Cairo and giving any kind of presentation or performance, because he had the audacity to say that the ancient Egyptians were black people. But I mean, the brother is from Philly, and it's sort of a Philly thing. I said, well, let me go to the brother's defense, because on this issue, the brother is correct. And so we're going to explore that today, and I hope if Kevin is around that he makes sure that his people are doing a spectatorship of the live stream so that he can understand. Now, here's what the newspaper said. Kevin Hart criticized for allegedly saying Egyptians were black. Critics launch online movement to shut down his upcoming show in Cairo. And to be honest with you, I never heard anything about this until my colleague, Dr. Jabali Adi, said, did you read it? And then I said, oh, let me go get there. I got to read it because he keeps me up on all these things. So this is what they're saying. They criticize him, right? But this is Kevin, Philadelphia Kevin Hart, all right? But look at the other one. Says there's a call to cancel Kevin Hart's comedy show in Egypt over Afrocentric views. Now, that's the first time I heard that he was an Afrocentrist, but that's okay. I mean, we'll take them as they come. So this brother says, he makes a claim. Now, some of you know that Egypt, and it's very hard maybe to see on your map, but that Egypt, which is in the northeastern corner of the map of Africa, that Egypt is on the continent of Africa. It's only on one continent. It is not in Asia. It is not in Europe. It's not in South America, not in North America. It's not even in Antarctica. Egypt is in the continent of Africa. So we know that right away. So that there's something about that idea that Egypt is in Africa, all right? So we're going to explore a lot of things today. Cheikh Anta Diop, you may have heard this name. We consider him the most important African scholar of the 20th century. He once said ancient Egypt was a Negro civilization. He's writing this in his book, The African Origin of Civilization. The ancient Egypt was a Negro civilization. The history of black Africa will remain suspended in air and cannot be written correctly until African historians dare to connect it with the history of Egypt. And this is profound because what he's saying is that Egypt is to Africa just as Greece is to Europe and as China is to Asia. That Egypt is one of the key cornerstones, and I've added to that. I've said Egypt and Nubia are to Africa as Greece and Rome are to Europe, and as India and China are to Asia. You can't take African civilization anywhere unless you understand our classical civilization. So we have to understand what happened. Why did the Arabs believe that the ancient Egyptians were not black? Well, you can read The African Origin of Civilization and The History of Africa. The first book, African Origin of Civilization, was written by Cheikh Anta Diop, and the second book was written by me, The History of Africa. These two books really deal with this case very clearly and very seriously. But here's the thing. There is in 1791, a French traveler by the name of Constantine Volney traveled throughout Egypt. And when he came back, he wrote this. He says, "How is it that a people now forgotten discovered," these are the African people, the black people of Africa, "how is it that a people now forgotten discovered while others were yet barbarians the elements of the arts and the sciences, a race now rejected from society for their sable skin and frizzled hair, founded on the study of the laws of nature, those civil and religious systems which still govern the universe." This is what he's asking other white folks. How is it that those people, they founded this, they were knowledgeable and wise and intelligent before any of the Europeans, before they were still barbarians, he says this. We'll come to the Arabs later because we got to get to them because they're the ones who are attacking Kevin Hart. And they're the ones who are denying the ancient civilization, black civilization of Egypt. Dr. Charles Finch, who is retired, I think, from Morehouse College of Medicine, wrote that it became clear to Wallace Budge. Wallace Budge was one of the older Egyptologists. He was a European guy who had written a lot about Africa, studied a lot in Sudan and in Ethiopia. And so Finch, who has written a lot also about ancient Africa, said it became clear to Wallace Budge that everything about ancient Egypt could be understood only by reference to Africa. You can't understand ancient Egypt by reference to Europe.